Hey guys, it's Mr. Oddity again, and I'm going to talk to you about something that people in big comfy chairs like I'm about to sit in like to talk about, me myself included. I am an author, dun dun dun, not just a videographer, an author as well, and I'm actually currently writing a teen fantasy novel, which you can find a link for in the description box. I'm going to tell you about it again later at the end of the movie. Um, and I really have enjoyed doing this, but as a teen writer, there are some things that can be very tough to get through, and as for any writer. So I want to talk about that today. If you have any comments, just post them down in the comments section below, and let me know. On writing block. I myself am actually completely horrible with writing block. What I normally do is I will actually just plow through it and keep on writing even if I don't want to, or something that I would normally suggest, take a break. Maybe you've been writing too long and you just don't have an idea for what you want to do. Sometimes that happens, and that's allowed. But normally I would just say plow through it just because a lot of us will get tired of what we're doing. I mean, especially after the first 100 pages, I got very, very bored of my book. But that was the thing that made me start to make it more exciting, I personally think. I went back and started changing stuff up when I started realizing what the characters would really do. And it actually made it far more exciting. You don't necessarily have to plow straight ahead. Sometimes you can plow backwards. That's just my personal opinion. Either that or this is my best one that I've ever done. Sometimes if I really am bad at writing blocks, I will take what I've done or thought of the previous night, because a lot of my good ideas honestly come in the middle of the night, and write them down, and and in the morning I'll see what I wrote down, and if I still like it, then I'll try and somehow incorporate it into the story, as crazy as it sometimes and almost always is. On storylines, a lot of people think that teen writers can't create very complex storylines. As most of our books that we read are pretty complex, I should say that we can create some pretty complex storylines, especially if you're taking a lot of time on it. And you can take a lot of time on it. You don't have to be impatient about it. I mean, J.R.R. Tolkien took about 10 years to write his book, so by that point he's not even a teen writer anymore. I don't understand, though, so that you don't all get mad at me. I'm a very impatient person. It's only been about 6 months since I sent the first 200 pages to the editor, and I'm still waiting on it, and I'm almost considering getting another editor, but that's not a good idea. That's a really bad idea. If somebody's taking that long with the editing, either A, which is probably not the actual case, they really don't have a whole lot of time, or B, they're actually really getting into it, and they really have a lot of feedback, and feedback is great. Don't ever diss down feedback, even if it's bad, because then that helps you to become a better writer. I was terrible at the beginning, and that's just fine. It comes with practice. Not everything that you think of in your head you can necessarily write down. As for how my plot lines actually go, I feel less like an actual writer than I do like a situation examiner. Because a lot of the times my characters honestly write the story for me. No, I'm not being schizophrenic, but sometimes I feel like they're actually, like when I write down a scenario, they're like, that's not how I would do it. I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, no, really, I would probably do it like this. In fact, I know I would do it like this. And I'm like, okay, so I'll change it up. And they'd be like, good, thank you. I've actually done that multiple times. At one point early on in the book, I wrote a scenario, and my brother was very helpful. He basically said, that's not how your character would write it. And I was just like, I know, but I can't think of how to do it. And he said, let him tell the story. And I was like, okay, but he wouldn't tell it very well. And I was like, eh. So I kind of let his mind write the story for him. Not as in like an I did this, I did that. It was still my regular third person, I think, storytelling. Yes, I'm not great with all this stuff. But he definitely took it, and it honestly became much funnier and better for that case. So if you feel like you're having less control of the story than you think you should, that's fine. That's allowed. It makes it all the more interesting, in my personal opinion. Being a teen author, um, that's one of the main things I've struggled with. I've struggled with a really large doubt as to whether I can really write something of this proportion. I honestly have come to find out, I think that a lot of adults are actually not as creative as teens. For instance, Christopher Paolini, he's one of my favorite writers, which I'll get into in the next section. Um, he and he started stuff when he was about 15, I think he started Aragon, and it's become one of the greatest series of all time, in my personal opinion, rivaling Lord of the Rings. You are more than welcome to diss me on that in the comments section, um, because of course he is the afterwork of Lord of the Rings and not the um, beginning of it. Um, but yeah, if you really have some great ideas, you think, um, I would, of course, first go to adults who are willing to listen and aren't just going to drag you down. Um, and second of all, go to your peers if you think that this would be something that they would like, and if you like writing teen fantasy like I do, then they're your first person that you would typically go to and say, "Would you like to read about this?" And yes, because of course you're a teen, you know what you want to read. Um, so it's been a lot of struggle. Yeah, I'd say. Just keeping my head in the game and not letting my youth get to me. Uh, but if that's the gift you've been given, then that's what you've been given. It's not much you can really do about it. You can't really say that you're bad at it because, and maybe you are. But if that's what you enjoy doing, I say you should do what you enjoy doing rather than necessarily what you're good at. Favorite authors. I think Christopher Paolini is up there definitely, along with Frank Peretti. He's a Christian writer of sorts. He wrote stuff like This Present Darkness, and I love anything to do with spiritual warfare. So that's just like a squeak kind of a thing. Um, so I was definitely into that book. Um, I love C.S. Lewis. He's kind of like an obvious up there, but he's good. I mean, it's not. I can't really say anything against that because he's amazing, and if other people like him too, well, other people like him too. That just makes him a great writer. Um, I can't think of the name of the person who wrote A Wrinkle in Time, but she's actually her book on writing was actually an extreme help while writing because then I realized that not everything that I'm going through is unusual, especially with the characters really writing their own stories. Um, I like Ted Dekker on the occasion, um, and of course J.R.R. Tolkien because even though I haven't actually had a chance to read the Lord of the Rings books, just watching the movies, you can just appreciate just how brilliantly amazing this guy was. Even in my fantasy book, I haven't actually really done much for an entire language, but the man wrote an entire language just out of his own head. My creativity is just nothing in comparison to him. In conclusion, be able to take a critique most of all. Even if you think that they're just being mean, maybe they have something that's true in there. Maybe the entire thing is true. Don't just be upset because it's a negative thing. Um, that was how I started creating Dark Soldier, for which I have a link to the Facebook page for the book right now in the description box thingy. I don't know if that's the name of it. Yeah. So it actually started out with something totally different storyline, and people were like, "That's not a very great storyline." It started to work its way from um, not really that good to a little bit better to okay to really good to awesome because I started to um, really let my mind go. I think if anything, you should allow yourself to throw in anything that you want to. I mean, it just makes you a better author if you're not limiting yourself to what you think that the audience would like. Your audience will find you. You don't need to search for what your audience is, in my personal opinion. If they like it, they like it. And if they don't like it, they don't like it. That's really the thing. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I actually decided to do this video thanks to Sarah Hallam, and I've put the link to her channel below as well, if she doesn't decide to comment on this and say what she decides to think as well. So, yep, thank you guys for listening, and happy writing.